I pretended to swallow mine but spit it out when Mom looked away. I stayed awake listening to my sister's breathing, knowing that in 12 hours we'd be in surgery. Mom had shown us the final plan, and it included things she hadn't mentioned before, like removing ribs to make our torsos identical, and altering our vocal cords to match our voices permanently. At 3:45 a.m. the van pulled up. They carried my drugged sisters out one by one while I pretended to be asleep. As Dad lifted me, I stayed limp, waiting for my chance to run once we got outside. My heart was beating so loud I was sure he'd notice. But as he reached the van, I felt something sharp prick my neck. Mom stood there with a syringe, smiling. "Did you really think we'd trust the pills alone?" she asked as my vision blurred. "We've been planning this for years." The drugs hit fast and my body went truly limp as they loaded me in next to my sisters. The last thing I saw was the airport sign as we merged onto the highway, knowing that none of us would wake up from those surgeries as ourselves. Except the drugs didn't knock me out completely. My body went limp like Mom wanted, but my brain stayed awake enough to know what was happening. I kept my eyes almost closed, just tiny slits so I could see the dashboard lights and the dark road passing by. Mom sat in the passenger seat running through their story out loud, practicing how she'd tell airport staff we were going to a special arts camp in Mexico. Dad corrected her twice about which city we were flying into, and she snapped at him to get it right because one wrong detail could ruin everything. My sisters breathed slow and heavy next to me, actually knocked out by whatever pills they took. The van smelled like the vanilla air freshener Mom always used and that chemical smell from the hair dye we'd used 2 days ago. I counted the exit signs we passed, trying to stay focused and not let the drugs pull me under. Exit 7, exit 9, exit 11. My heart beat so hard I worried they'd hear it in the quiet van. Dad merged onto the airport exit ramp and the big blue sign with the airplane symbol lit up in our headlights. This was it. This was actually happening unless someone at the airport noticed something was wrong with 4 unconscious teenage girls. Dad pulled into the departure drop-off lane where all the other early morning travelers were unloading their bags. He got out and opened the van's sliding door, and cold air rushed in, making me want to shiver, but I forced myself to stay completely still. He grabbed a luggage cart from the rack nearby and wheeled it over. I felt his hands under my arms as he lifted me out and placed me on the metal cart, my head lolling to the side. He loaded Violet next to me, then Ruby, then Hazel, arranging us like we were cargo instead of people. Mom came around and started fussing with our matching pink hoodies, zipping mine up higher and smoothing down Hazel's hair. She pulled at Ruby's sleeve to make it match the others exactly, muttering about how we needed to look perfect even now. Through my barely open eyes, I saw other people walking past with their rolling suitcases. A woman in a business suit stared at us for a long moment, her face confused. A man with 2 kids slowed down to look. But then they all kept walking, pulling their bags toward the terminal doors. Nobody stopped. Nobody asked questions. They just looked away like we were something uncomfortable they didn't want to deal with. Mom pushed the cart through the automatic doors into the terminal, and the bright fluorescent lights hit my closed eyelids like knives. The sudden brightness made my eyes water, but I couldn't wipe the tears away.
Click the link in my bio to get the full story for free.